Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being with us. A bit of a late update, as you guys know. We typically upload these on Mondays, but it's Tuesday, and we're bringing to you guys the Stock Watch, the show where we review the action over the weekend and the week as well for all of the Americans. And straight to the point, Braden. The first one that caught your eye, was it a positive? Was it a negative? Who do you have for us?
Yeah, I think I'd say it's a historic positive. Honestly, I think this week was pretty boring in general, but on Friday, PSV with a 6-1 win over Twente, who are a very good team. They're in fifth in the Eredivisie. No slouches by any means. And we had I don't even know if this has even happened before, but three Americans scoring in the same game for arguably a top 16 team in the world. If you look at the Champions League, they're up there. I think they're 18th or something like that. But I think you can make the argument they're probably a top 25 at least team in Europe. So the fact that Richie Ledesma, first off, scoring his first goal in 2.5 years for PSV, so happy for him because his comeback for them has been an incredible story. Malik Tillman, of course, on the score sheet. Pepe getting a goal and an assist. I mean, we already know what he does when he starts. He always produces. Be interesting to see if he keeps getting the same amount of game time. Maybe he gets more. Who knows? Ernie Stewart seems to be very adamant at keeping Luke de Jong at the club, unfortunately. But I think it was just honestly a really cool moment because I can't think of a time before this where we had three Americans, especially ones who are so young, scoring in the same game. Even if it was like Timmy Chandler and like two other old guys, like I can't think of something like that. So I think that was one of the most significant games in recent memory, at least from a USMNT perspective. So I have to give all of them a stock up together, just PSV in general. I mean, they're doing an incredible job there, and how good they've been with Dest back in training now, I think, or viewing a return. They could have four playing in the same game at some point, and who knows? We've seen the Cade Cowell rumors. Maybe it's just going to become American FC completely, and based on how these guys have done, it would be warranted.
Yeah, it's so nice. I think if I had to pick one, I would say Ledesma out of the bunch just because I think it's the first time he has his moment there. But yeah, props to them. Props to Ernie Stewart. We could maybe let us know, make a video about him and American directors, club owners in the future. But my pick's going to be Max Dietz. I was torn in between a stock up or down. I'll pick up because, well, he got an assist. So props to him for the stock up, the very beautiful assist that he got. But I would just say the way that he got the yellow card, he's a little bit sloppy, let's say. I don't know, just the way he moves sometimes, a little bit reckless. But they got a win. It had been a while for them. Sadly, Gorgenfirth, I don't think they'll make a push for promotion like they did last year. Although it did fade away towards the end. It's not like they were close. But I'll pick a stock up just because, I don't know, I feel like he's a little bit funny to watch. On the ball, off the ball, just a little lunky, but goal contribution for him for the app Rating Merchants if you want to just look at that. But overall, I think it was a good match up until the sending off. He didn't do bad. Very physical, just needs to tone it down a little bit. But I feel like with that spot for center back kind of up for grabs, maybe 2-3 years. I think it'll take a little bit longer for him, but I think there is a player in there, just needs to tone it down. But there is definitely quality, and nice for him to get a goal contribution, although he was sent off. But up next for us, who do you have, Braden?
I just think it's funny that you're giving someone a stock up for a red card. Maybe if it was against Mexico, but I don't know about that one. But good for him to get an assist at least. I think it was actually his first professional assist. So I guess a significant moment in his career, although I don't think he'll remember the game for a positive reason. But onto a more negative note. Another player who got sent off of his game, but not because of a red card, Christian Pulisic, getting injured. Thankfully, it doesn't look to be too serious. He should be back in January, but he's still going to miss probably at least 4 games, potentially up to like 6 or 7. And I mean, with how bad Milan have been this season, every little bit, especially when it's one of your most key players getting injured for several weeks, it's just not what you want. It's been a disaster for them, quite frankly. Pulisic has been one of the only bright spots, but honestly, I think his play has kind of slowed down a little bit over the past few weeks. Not to say he's been bad or anything, but obviously the goal contributions aren't flying in as much as they were at the start of the season. I think overall his play has just taken a slight dip. Not to say he's been bad. Of course, he's still probably been top 2 Americans this season, but I think it's just unfortunate he's getting injured during what is probably the best season of his career. It just sucks to see it, and hopefully he's back fully fit for the rest of the season, ready to go once 2025 hits. New year, new Pulisic, hopefully, or I guess back to the start of the season Pulisic. But I think I have to give him a stock down. Probably the only one he'll get all season, to be honest, but mixed up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be tough to maintain that kind of, I don't know how prolific he was at the beginning of the season, and Milan are a disaster. I mean, it was bound to happen for something bad to happen to him as well. He was one of the only bright sparks. But yeah, I don't know, maybe topics for something, I don't know, a move for him in the future, but I would like for him to stay. But I don't know. It's kind of been of a mess, kind of a shame for him to be in that club at this moment. I'm going to have also a stock down right here, going from a positive to a negative, is going to be Rokas Pukstas. I don't know if anyone still remembers him. He's still alive. He's not injured. He's around. He's there at Hajduk Split. And for whatever reason, I like watching that league. I have a club that I enjoy there, so it's always nice to catch up. And I got to watch him the full match, and Pukstas was, I would just say it, pretty bad. You can tell there's a player in there when he controls the ball, just the way he moves. Some players, they have the flair in them, and with a little bit more freedom, but I don't think he has a position. That's the biggest struggle. I feel like he's not really a box-to-box. He's not really a 10. He's not a CDM. He's kind of just pushed around, and they're not having a great season for what the league is. But overall, it has to be a stock down, because if we think about it, this was a guy that some people were saying should get a shout within the first team a while back, or at least for the Olympics. And now, if we were to have another Olympic spot, I don't think he would make it. And it's a historic downfall. Hopefully he moves. I think he overstayed, and that's what happens when you overstay at a club there, where if you don't keep up with the excellent type of performances, it's a bad league, so it's not like you're going to be catching anyone's eye. So stock down for Pukstas, sadly. Hopefully you have a positive for us.
Yeah, I do have a positive, and I mentioned Max Dietz getting his first professional assist when he brought up his game. I'm going to go for a stock up for someone who also got their first professional assist over the weekend. It's going to be the Dortmund star boy, Cole Campbell. And you might be thinking, okay, why is it a stock up? He's now not really part of the first team anymore because the players from injury are back, including Gio Reyna being one of them. But I actually think this is better for him because, yes, he was a consistent part of the first team, but I mean, let's be real, he wasn't really getting minutes. He had one game where he had significant minutes against Wolfsburg in the Cup, and that was good. It was a very encouraging performance from him, and he does look like he, I think, belongs with Dortmund whenever he gets minutes, but he just wasn't going to play for the first team, especially with all these players back from injury. And I think being a consistent second-team player while still likely training with the first team every day, I think is the perfect scenario for him for the rest of the season. He got, like I said, his first assist for the second team. It was a great run and ball from him, and I think he was probably their best player in the game as well. I mean, I think he's definitely right now their most first team ready prospect. Him and Kjell Watjen are probably up there, but I don't know. I think it's the perfect opportunity for him. I think we got a little bit premature with some of the calls that happened once he made his Dortmund debut. People were already saying give him a USMNT call up, maybe in the January camp, which honestly, again, this moving down to the second team makes it more realistic that he'll be available for the January camp because he won't be needed for the first team, and that could be a perfect opportunity for him to impress Poch. But overall, I just think things are going right with his career right now. I can't wait to see him continue to tear up the third division of Germany, and then hopefully next season, maybe even for the Club World Cup, he could be a first-team player consistently.
Yeah, that's true. It could be a glorified preseason for Dortmund, so maybe he impresses enough to get a chance there. My next pick right here, it's a mainstream player. Everybody knows him. It's a guy that's Mr. Consistency. Jedi, also stock up. Because, well, I think Arsenal are, although they are in a bit of a dip, still a very quality side. And I thought he had a good match. Could have sharpened up a few things. But Jetta, I like watching him, how gritty he is for a national team and for Fulham. If he does something wrong, he tracks back so fast, so reliable, and helped him to get a draw. And I feel like Arsenal could have won that game. And he was a big part of, again, captaining again. It's nice that he's stepping into the captain role. So I'll give him a stock up. I didn't give it way back when he first got his captain debut. But I thought he led the team pretty well, even arguing with the ref at times, kind of stepping up. Hopefully he gets to become the captain for the USMNT because, one, he's good enough to be a starter, unlike Tim Ream, which is a point that you've made in the past. And also we need someone to acclimate to that position of leadership. And I feel like he's good enough to be respected by the squad and hopefully builds it up and becomes a Fulham legend, which I think he will be, and becomes the USMNT captain. I sincerely hope for that. Now, next one on your list, Braden.
Yeah, I think it's also notable to point out he got an assist midweek against Brighton and a huge win for Fulham as well against a club that was doing very well at the time. I'm going to move to, unfortunately, a stock down for my fourth pick, and it's going to be a player who has also gotten a lot of hype very recently, mainly this season, the last season. It's a dual national. It's going to be Luca Kolyosho, the fake Italian, because quite frankly, I think he probably played his worst game of the season against Borough. I think it was on Friday for Burnley. He essentially lost every duel that he's been in, and I know that a lot of USMNT fans like to hate on Brendan Aaronson because, similar thing, really. He's always losing his duels. He's getting bodied off the ball at times, and people call him ineffective playing in the championship. Well, he's having probably 4 times this season that Kolyosho is doing everything better in the same league for arguably a better team. I just think Kolyosho has been very bad this season. There's been some flashes that he's good, but he only has 2 goal contributions this season, 18 games. No assists for a winger is really concerning. I'm honestly surprised that he hasn't been dropped yet for good. I think he was dropped for 1 game recently, but that's it. I think, honestly, if Burnley want to stay in the promotion hunt, they're going to need an upgrade on him. And I just think it was funny how he was looking for the move to Bayern when those rumors came out earlier this season. He'd be lucky if he could get any sort of upgrade from Burnley at this point. And I think it just kind of goes to show, yes, dual nationals are great. It's great to expand the player pool, but let's not hype all of them up like they're the next coming of Messi, like they're the next Pulisic, because they're just not. Luca Kolyosho is nothing special right now. He could be in the future. Maybe he's still very young, but right now I think it's fair to say I don't think he'd be a USMNT player. And he's certainly not an Italy player or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Which makes me think maybe he'll start kind of settling for the USMNT, but that begs the question, would he even automatically improve our squad, which was the talk in the past. That was the talk. Everyone would say that he would slot into the first 11. I even got myself carried on that, but yeah, it's not looking up for him. And it's a good comparison. People hate on Brendan Aaronson, but look what he's doing. Haji, even more is how he's doing comparatively in the same league, and Kolyosho is not shining by any means. Now, my pick is going to be a guy that I have a sort of a love-hate relationship because I watch him a lot. He plays for a club that I like. I'm a fan. Gianluca Buzio. Don't let the app ratings fool you. If you had the opportunity to watch, Venezia had a game where it was a must-win against Como. And although Buzio wasn't the most prolific, things weren't coming off, I think that type of match is exactly the type of match he needs to put in order to attract a move, because I think he can't stay another season at Venezia. Surely he won't. He needs to get a move. Hopefully someone is interested in him, and playing like that. He was, again, I like players when they're gritty, and I feel like Buzio, when he's on, it's just that so many lapses throughout the match for him. But when he's on, he can be a really good player, and I felt like he wasn't overdoing things. He was quick with the decision making, which at times, even if he has a good play, he holds on it for too long. He was thinking really well, being effective in spaces and trying things off. Yeah, the passes didn't come off. I think it was like 50% of them were successful, but he was trying, they were progressing the play. So I have to give him a stock up, because if scouts are watching for these lower bottom of the table Serie A clubs are watching, he's not expensive. His contract is nearing the end, so why not give Buzio a chance? If he plays like that, I sincerely think he's going to get a chance at a Monza type of club, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you brought up the perfect point. He's playing for a move this season. I think it's inevitable that Venezia were going to go down. I think we both actually mentioned it before the season started that they were probably odds-on favorites to finish dead last. It looks like it's going to be that. It's unfortunate. It's a bad environment to be in. In all honesty, you don't want to lose every single week and get draws and must-win games or anything like that. But as long as he can get a move at the end of the season, there's still light at the end of the tunnel for him, and he's still playing well for the USMNT whenever he gets the chances. And really, that's all that matters. I think it's the most important thing. And speaking of a midfielder who Buzio probably took his spot with the USMNT as of right now, I'm going to give a stock up to Luca de la Torre. He's finally back from injury. Somehow, I don't know how it took this long. He, I think, sustained it over the Mikey Varas camp where we played Canada and New Zealand. Scored a goal against Canada. I think it was actually his first one for the USMNT. It looked like he might be on an upward trajectory. That was really the first camp in some time that he actually stood out in either a positive or negative way, but specifically positive. And then he's just out for several months until this week. I don't know where it came from really, and there was rumors that in the summer that he wasn't in the plans at Celta Vigo, that he could potentially be on the move. Didn't get a transfer. I was a little bit worried, but he comes off the bench for his first game back against I think it's a 4th division club, Salamanca UDS or something. Not anything impressive by any means, but he came off the bench, got an assist, which is a good way to kick off his season, and got a few minutes at the end of the game against Mallorca as well. A solid 2-0 win. Celta Vigo are looking okay right now. They're up in 10th place, mid-table in La Liga, and I have faith in him that he'll continue to get bench minutes more and more as the season progresses. Maybe he'll get a few starts, because he did have a decent run of form in this part of the season actually last year. So I think it's definitely on the cards for him to stay at Celta Vigo, continue to be a top 5 league player. And although I don't think he's a USMNT level player right now, and I don't know if he will be for the foreseeable future, it's the good kind of depth option to have, and that's really what we've been missing for so long. So it's just good to see him healthy again.
Yeah, and he's so young, because we've been hearing about him for such a long time. 26, I thought he was like nearing 30s basically. He doesn't look that young either, but yeah, I think it's a perfect depth piece really. So I'm surprised. This was my backup pick really, because I thought you were going to have him on your list. I'll have to give it to Paxton Aaronson. He got the Young Player of the Month at the Eredivisie. So nice for him to get that. I feel like, again, it's a player that really doesn't get much attention. I don't know if it's because of his brother. I mentioned that because people always, naturally, they're going to compare him to his brother. But since his brother has some animosity with the fan base for whatever reason, they never really shine a light on Paxton, who's such a good player, quality player. If we look at it, if this was Taylor Booth having the exact same performances, people would be going nuts. I mean, he got linked to Man United for doing literally a third of this. So props to him. I think it's 6 goals contribution so far in this season at a new club. Again, it's the second loan in a row where he's succeeding. He's a regular for the second best team in the league. I don't think they'll contend because PSV are cracked this season. But props to Paxton. It's so nice to see him getting that award, an American getting an award at a league that historically has developed so many young talents. So I think he deserves it. So that's my final pick of the week. Now, the ones that we're going to put on the stock watch to keep an eye on this week, which hopefully will prove a little bit more action-packed than the last one. Who do you have for us, Braden?
Yeah, and let's just make it clear. Utrecht would not be anywhere near second without Paxton Aaronson in the squad. I just want to put that out there. But like you said, I think this coming week is going to be really good. Potentially, hopefully it lives up to the hype, but I think it could be one of the best ones we've had all season for Americans. So I'll just start with my player to watch, and it's going to be Folarin Balogun, because unfortunately over the weekend, despite starting in their last game against Marseille, he did pick up a re-aggravation of his shoulder injury, missed the game. So he's a player to watch for 2 reasons. Number one, does he come back from injury again this week? But number two, because midweek in the Champions League, they play, of course, Arsenal, the team that he was developed in, has some records there, I think, for their youth. He's, I believe, their top U18 scorer of all time. I think he's the 3rd top U18 scorer of all time in England in general. So some incredible records. I just saw that because the Man United kid, Chido Obi Martin, broke the record. So I just saw Balogun's name on the list, and I thought that was a cool stat. But over the weekend as well, to add something else to the fire, they also play Stade de Reims, the club that he came from, that he had his significant season, one of the best USMNT seasons abroad we've ever had, I think, a few years ago, that earned him the move to Monaco. That he plays both of his former clubs in the same week. I think it's the perfect week. Hopefully he is back, because I think he'd like to make a statement, especially against Arsenal, the club that discarded him and kept Eddie Nketiah, who now has no goals so far in the Premier League this season for Crystal Palace. But I think that's going to be a really fun storyline to watch. Hopefully he plays. And then for my sleeper pick, I'm just going to pick 2 players because they're at the same club, CCV and Trusty. Basically, we have to put these guys as players to watch whenever we have the chance, because we don't have the chance often. Well, this week it's a big one. They have Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League. It's a very, very big game for them. I'd say it's a must-win, honestly, considering where they are in the table. It's another team who's really not that great. I think they're actually below Celtic in the table. So it's a huge opportunity to pick up points where they're not going to come very often for this club, especially in the near future. And they also have the Old Firm Derby, of course, on Sunday, the only relevant game really in Scotland. Not that Rangers have been very good this season, but I mean, it's still a rivalry, one of the biggest, most historic rivalries in the world. So you have to tune in whenever the game happens. It never disappoints. So those are my players to watch. I'm curious who yours are, because there's a lot of options.
They really are. And I'll just say on Balogun, look, Antonio sadly got in the crash, but hey, there may be an opportunity there. I don't think that things will work out at Monaco. Maybe he could get a move in January. Who knows? I think that would be nice. And yeah, the old firm, I'll definitely tune in for that. It's always nice to see at least the fans. Even if the soccer played is not beautiful or anything, I would definitely tune into that. And Dinamo Zagreb aren't even that great in the Croatian league right now, so it's a must win. It's a definite must win for them. My players to watch are going to be, well, Ricardo Pepi. It remains to be seen. Two big games, one against Brest, who are impressing, taking the Champions League by storm, comparative to what the expectations were. And then Harvey over the weekend. Will he start? I think that it is a point. At some point, surely at some point, he becomes the starter. Imagine De Jong starts both of these games. Pepe gets a cameo, scores in both. I think that would seal the deal, wouldn't it? I know maybe I'm being too hopeful, but he has that clutch in him. And I think that comparative with how he has been doing throughout the season with his opportunities, he has done as much as he can. So I'll keep him on my stock watch. I think he can definitely come in. Imagine just scoring a winner against Brest in the Champions League after the De Jong disaster class. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So I'll keep him in the stock watch. I think anytime the Champions League is on, we have to watch these guys. And for my under the radar one, well, I don't think he's going to have much of a chance midweek. It's going to be Tanner Tasman, who's always getting involved. Not that many minutes, but some here, some there. Starts a few here and there. He's in and out of the squad, but always regularly getting some minutes. Well, they're going to play Frankfurt. I think it's a nice opportunity to see. Oh, it's a good sample to see how he compares to one of the best teams in Europe. I think that Frankfurt are really, really good. I think that they're a little bit above the level of competition in the Europa League. They're better than a lot of Champions League teams, in my opinion. And I think Tasman's he's bound to get some minutes. I don't know if he'll start or not, but he'll get considerable minutes, and it'll be a nice little chance to see where he is compared to a team like that. So that wraps it up for the week, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about this kind of Met week and which players you're looking forward to watch in the upcoming week as well. We have a lot of guys in the Champions League, and as the league gets on, we'll make sure to respond to your comments. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.